Hey guys, it's Vocal Pineapple, and today I want to give you guys an update on the events of chapters 362 of My Hero Academia. So there are going to be spoilers in this video. We got some updated information about what's going on with Bakugo. I know it left a really big shock for a lot of you guys, so let's just go straight into it after that intro. Hit it! So in My Hero Academia chapter 362, things were a little unclear, to be honest. So for the last pair of spoilers, we were given spoilers by Rukasu and various members of the spoiler community. Later on in the next day, we did get much more detailed spoilers and a much more detailed summary. So I wanted to record this video to kind of close some of the holes that were left open in the last video. One of those was how Bakugo got his new quirk awakening, right? Like, what was the actual explanation and reasoning behind it? And in this video, we're going to talk about that and a little more about what actually happens to Bakugo at the end of the chapter. So we learned from this chapter in My Hero Academia, from the enhanced spoilers, or I guess the new spoilers, we learned that we pretty much have the new quirk awakening that Bakugo has, where he's able to use explosions all over his body, pretty much thanks to the cluster training, right, that Bakugo did with Endeavor. In this chapter, we learned that through trying to train for cluster and Bakugo learning how to compress explosions into his hands and kind of like squeeze the pores in his hands closed a little bit to really compress the amount of explosions that he's doing, due to that process, the explosions were looking for another exit point in his body, right? And that ended up changing the nature of his quirk in a certain way, right? So we know that the nature of your quirk can change to a certain extent. We've seen that with Getten, even from the Liberation Army, who originally wasn't able to change the temperature of cold and whatnot. They could only control ice. And after being able to control the temperature, their quirk pretty much does a massive boost, right, in capability and power. This makes sense, right? Because Bakugo raising the compression on his hands and having the explosions try to come out of other places, and that ultimately unlocking the ability for him to use explosion from anywhere, really does seem to make sense to me, honestly. It's a really smart way to do that. It's a really smart explanation. And in this chapter, we do see Bakugo at certain times completely blitzing Shigaraki, right, with this new ability, with the ability to pretty much use sweat to send him flying and to use various attacks, right? And very much like we said in the last chapter spoilers video, in this chapter spoilers video, it seems like Bakugo is very much kind of living the experience of One for All or full cowling, right? Because him and Deku are very similar here, actually. Deku often hurts himself, using his power across all of his body, getting damaged, his whole body hurts, and that's the path that he's taken, right? And in this chapter, we have Bakugo asking, can I catch up with you now? You know what I mean? Deku, now that I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. And it really reminds me of when Gon was sad over Kite's passing, right? And he lost his arm and he was like, now I'm just like Kite. And he pretty much nearly passed away after that, right? If it wasn't for Killua coming with his sister and saving him. So I do think this is a very similar moment to that, where we have Bakugo becoming even more like Deku and taking a page out of Deku's book at the end of this chapter, in a very similar way to how Deku has been taking pages out of Bakugo's book the entire series, more or less now doing his own sort of version of full cowling using explosions, which rapidly ups his speed and his firepower. But what we see in this chapter is it's just not enough. Despite Tamaki's attack on Shigaraki, despite Mirko and the Big Three and everyone attacking Shigaraki at the same time as Bakugo and trying to create some sort of opening or stop Bakugo from getting hurt, we see that Shigaraki All For One does counter Bakugo's final technique and does pierce his heart. And now that is the biggest change of what we learned from the most recent 24 hours, because yesterday the spoilers told us that Bakugo's heart just stopped, right? You know what I mean? And that kind of left things a little open-ended. Some people felt like it would be possible for Bakugo to still be alive, even though I was on the side of feeling like Bakugo should definitely be gone after that moment, right? Like, after his heart stops, if no one else saves him, I feel like he should be done. The only thing that would have allowed is him kind of bringing himself back through sheer something, right? Or something in its quirk or something. Maybe then I would have accepted it. But in this chapter, we see that his heart was actually blown wide open. There are pieces of his heart flying out of it. There's a giant hole in it, and he was hit by an attack by Shigaraki so strong that it completely blew all the attachments off of his back and sent him flying and bouncing on the ground past Best Jeanist's arms into a puddle on the ground. So it very much seems like Bakugo's in a much more dire situation than we thought last night, and I just wanted to update you guys on that because it does seem like it's very possible that this is the end of Bakugo. Now, I know a lot of people are in denial. They're like, no, that can't be the case, but a lot of you felt the same exact way when Twice passed away, right? When Twice died, everyone was in denial. Everyone's like, no, he can't be gone, blah, and it wasn't until the next chapter where we actually saw his body and whatnot that it kind of stuck for people, right? It kind of started to sink in. So I do think a very, very similar thing is going to happen in this section of My Hero Academia. I do think Bakugo is gone, especially after seeing the actual scan of what happened to his heart and everything that was going on. He did get to try to be useful. He did get the quirk awakening, but the realistic part of this is it's just not enough. No matter how amazing Bakugo is, he's still a 17-year-old or 16-year-old boy. He's not able to deal with Shigaraki, who's pretty much on All Might's level right now. And it really, really is unfortunate for the character of the entire series who was telling us that he was going to surpass All Might to then lose against someone at All Might's level, you know what I mean? And then pass away, and we're not going to see all the amazing things that Bakugo could have done or he could have been or anything like that. It seems like it is genuinely over, and it's very, very tragic, and I know a lot of people are going to feel like he had so much more to do, but sometimes that is the tragedy behind someone passing, right? Thinking about all the things that they have left to do in this world and knowing that they're not going to be able to do that. I think my biggest lingering question, honestly, is going to be how is Deku going to deal with this situation, right? I know a lot of us are thinking that. A lot of us are kind of going through the different steps to process Bakugo being gone, and I know people aren't going to accept it for a little while, but I do think he is gone, and I'm wondering exactly how Deku's going to react to this, right? Because the whole issue is that Deku wants to save Tenko within Shigaraki, right? But has Shigaraki / All For One done something that just goes too far, you know what I mean? He already made Deku snap in the last war arc. I feel like he's definitely gone too far at this point, to be honest, and he's hurt Bakugo, and we know that that's one of Deku's closest friends, you know what I mean? So I just don't know how he's going to react to this other than pure rage. I definitely don't think he's going to be able to see past that. So what kind of situation is that going to cause, right? Because everyone has a really big plan here to take down Shigaraki, but if Deku arrives angry and just starts going crazy, I feel like the entire plan is going to go out of the window, right? And that is what really puts the heroes in danger, because all it's going to take is Shigaraki not being within Monoma or Aizawa's senses anymore, or their vision, to get his quirks back and reheal and kind of start everything over. So do you think that's likely at all, right? Like, what do you think Shigaraki's going to do? What do you think the final battle's going to be like now that this has happened? And also, let me know in the comment section below, who in Class 1A besides Deku do you think is going to take this news the worst? I feel like that's a very, very interesting question, and I definitely want to know it. So this is Pineapple. Those were the spoilers for My Hero Academia Chapter 362 kind of updated version. I'm going to put a link in the comment section below to whose Twitter you can go to and whatnot to see the full summary, and you know who you can go to for leaks from now on, unless you want to just watch my videos. But yeah, that's where I get it from, and you guys will be seeing it in a second. So I'll see you guys later. It's Pineapple. Peace.